Alright, welcome to the day 5 of the class. Today is an interesting session where one of my favorite topic, project risk management. If I want to ask you, just looking at the picture, what exactly you are seeing? Whether are you seeing a risk or are you seeing an issue? I always get two different types of answers just looking at the picture. But believe it or not, this is one of the easiest but confusing area for the most of the young project managers. In other words, if you are really good in understanding the risk and proactively identify possible risks that can happen for the project, the more successful you will be in project management. So the two critical skills that a PM has to develop to be more successful is definitely the risk management and also the communication management. When I ask these questions to a lot of audience, they will see, some of them will see there is issue in this picture because you can see a car with door opened and seeing some potholes. The audience assume the car has a flat tire, which means that there is some problem happened. Some people will say, I do not see an issue, but I see a risk because I am not the one who are in that car. It's also right. So the main difference here is issue and risk is on the time scale. If you draw a time scale and if you consider this is today and just seeing that time scale, if you see a problem that happened now or just happened previously in the project which already impacted the project outcome, we can call this an issue from a time scale point of view. Or if you think something can possibly go wrong in the time future which may impact the project outcome with some probability of impact, that is called risk. So that is one clear differentiation between issue and risk. One is in the future, one is just happened or happened in the past. Now, let's take a look at a couple of main process. We are going through this process in detail later, but to manage the risk, there is a set of guidelines or principles that we have to follow. Those guidelines or principles that you literally follow in managing the risk is called risk management process. Then if you go around the circle from this process, the next one is about identification. Identifying means that we look thoroughly, closely, examine all the activities that we plan for a project with its objectives, with its requirement, with its needs, with its environments, with all the perspectives, and we can find out there are something which can possibly go wrong if we execute this project according to the plan. And whatever we identify as a threat or an opportunity, which I'll come to the definition a little bit later, that is called risk, and that called tabulated in a particular sheet, and that sheet is called risk register. Once you identify that, we move on to the quality and quantification. These two are actually meaning that we take a close look at that component and say, if this happens, how exactly is going to impact my project? It's going to impact my cost, it's going to impact my quality, it's going to impact my schedule, or it's going to impact something else, technical architecture sometimes. So that qualification, classification happens, and after the classification, we look into the probability. What is the probability of something like that can happen to the project? Out of a scale 1 to 100, that's the probability. And we can also see the impact from the scale 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest, what could be the impact. So when you multiply that probability P by the impact I, that PI factor will give a quantified ranking factor for each of the risks that you are identifying. So that mechanism is called qualification and quantification. When we move on to the next step is called response planning. If that risk happens, what I'm going to do? we could do 7 different ways of action based upon whether that occurrences or that event is going to help the project outcome or whether the event is going to negatively impact the project outcome. What are the possible scenarios, possible strategies, possible responses that we can come up with? And last but not least, these are all planning. Control risk is like that. We recorded this happened and what we are going to do. Now, I told you about there are 7 response strategies that we can follow. Before we go there, just look at all the risk. The moment we hear the risk, a lot of negative emotion, anxiety, frustration, painful come to project manager's mind or the team's mind because we always consider risk as negative. In fact, it is one of the good lessons that you have learned in this video. All risks are not negative. If you thoroughly think it through, we can also identify certain events which can help the project outcome. If we identify an event that can help the project outcome, that is called opportunity. If you identify an event that is negatively going to impact project outcome, it's called threat. So one of the strategy that mentioned here is called acceptance. Sometimes if it is positive or negative, we accept the risk. Of course, if it is positive, acceptance is good. No harm in that. Then the question is that if in negative, I am accepting. The choice could be you do not have any options, that is one way, or you have an option but it is of negligible impact to the project. Then we accept. So the takeaway from this slide is accept can be a strategy for both opportunity and threat as long as it's not going to impact much for the project as well as it's getting more reward for the project if it's an opportunity risk. Now for the positive responses or opportunity risk. We have 3 different mechanisms that we can implement. One is exploit. We are making sure we are tapping onto the benefit. Share means we are allowing a partner to take the benefit too. Enhance means increase the probability. This is one of the confusing slides. So I am going to help you or give you an example. Let's say go back to our vacation project. Let's say you are shopping or you are planning the vacation and you found out that there is airlines is going to announce some sale in a particular week or let's say 2 days before that you're planning to go. You change your vacation day accordingly to exploit that opportunity. So that sale of the ticket aligning with the vacation adjustment, though you have to do some adjustment, you make use of that opportunity to get more advantage of project outcomes to exploit. Share. Let's say you found a family member is also going for vacation and you found out that it will be more enjoyable if you share the cost like all the tickets, hotel bookings and a car. If you jointly book, you are going to do some savings. That's called sharing. Enhancement means that, let's go back to the first thing, the sale is happening, but there is an opportunity for you to get some benefit, but you found that if you readjust the date a little bit towards the week, in mid of the week, you are going to get more sales benefit. So that is like enhancements. So again, opportunity is a risk. In this case, sale is an event or vacationing together is an event where you see the opportunity, you see the positive benefit for the project outcome, and you are applying different strategy to make sure you get the maximum benefit. So those are the 3 response strategies. Now coming to threat. Threat is again an event that can occur in future. Of course, an event that can occur in future is only a risk. An event that can occur in future which will impact the project outcome, which will negatively impact the project outcome. So that is called threat. If you do avoid means that we totally exclude that activities from your plan. For example, let's say you are planning to go to the beach in 1 or 2 according to plan. You found a hurricane or something is coming, you avoid that and you went to probably an indoor kind of enjoyment that day. You're totally avoiding. Transfer means that, let's say, baggage loss could be a risk in vacationing. You did some insurance, the travel insurance. That's a transfer of risk. Reduce means that there is something negative is going to happen, but you are reducing the probability by planning a sub action to that. This is the normal. Whenever you hear the risk, this is actually all the time we are referring to this particular step, and we call mitigation. We know this is going to happen, we can avoid it, but we plan out such a way that the impact can be reduced. Okay, now this is maybe a little bit hard to read, but this is a spreadsheet kind of form where you can record all the risks that you're going to highlight in the project. For example, here the risks are noted down with some serial numbers when you are identifying a brief discussion of the risk and the risk effect. So this particular area is the section that we talk it through risk identification. This is the risk processing cycle. This is the risk identification step. Once that is identified, we also find out grouping. Qualification and quantification happens here. This is basically qualification and quantification. So where we will go through the PI factor, we found the probability, we find the impact, and you then rank up accordingly with the PI factor. It's called the quantification. Once you've done the qualification and quantification, you move on to the mitigation strategy. This is the area where you look into what is the best response that we could do. And we have learned 7 different response strategies. One is with the common, which is acceptance, and we learned 3 for positive and 3 for negative. In total, we have 7 approaches that we could do. So once you're becoming more and more expert, you should be able to find out what is the best response strategy that you have to apply for the identified risk, so you can reduce the negative impact for the project, and also you will get an opportunity to identify more positive events that can help your project to lead forward. Let me go a little bit back there to the slide just to make sure we are thorough with this understanding. This is again the risk management process, overall process that we are going to talk, and then we identify and put in the risk register. We do the qualification and quantification, and then we come up with a better strategy. How do we tackle that risk if that happens? And the risk register is always referred when the risk happens on a particular day. We can refer to a register, a log book, and find out how do we react upon. Okay. Now, with the contingency resource and some other resource, risk can happen anytime, but how do we manage those things? To manage those things, we have planned certain things out, but that is also going to incur some cost because we have to act upon. Just like we found all the activities in the project plan has a cost, which is also going to take some cost. So there are 2 kinds of resource, the funding available for us, which we call as reserves one. And the first one, which we call as known unknowns. Known unknowns. And the known unknowns means that it's a contingency reserve, because in our risk register, we have noted down everything and we exactly planned out certain backup activities or contingency activities on that. We add all the costs together, we can find out. So any PM should be able to find out and ask the senior stakeholders, I need this much money to manage all the risk. And that money is called contingency reserve. There is some money which is in the back pocket for the management, which is not known for us. This is there to help us in case any risk happens which is unknown and totally unknown to us. So the unknown risk money is called management reserves. So the key thing is that there are 2 types of reserves. One is contingency reserves and the other one is the contingency reserve, and the other one is the management reserve. These two reserves are there to help you to manage and act upon the risk when it happens to your project. Now, in the risk management differences between traditional versus agile form. In the traditional form, it's a little bit relatively easy to manage the risk, I would say. The reason being the scope and details are clear. Since the scopes and details are clear, it may be easy to do proactive measures because we know all the WBS, we know exactly what the customer wants, we can plan out a lot of things. But in agile world, it's not that easy, especially the scope is not clear. That does not mean like that agile does not have a better risk management mechanism. It has. How? It do the risk management because of daily stand-up meeting. Daily people are communicating. The product owner is communicating with the team, and team is also communicating each other. So they are not sit and wait something really can bad happen to the project and impact a lot. Other one is about testing. They do continuous testing and integration. So which means that every time they develop something in 2 weeks, the customer is evaluating it. Again, continuous testing happened. Retrospective is the feedback meeting happened every 2 weeks. So the main takeaway here is that risk management is there in both traditional and agile world. In traditional world, the way it is addressed is different, versus in agile world, there is also risk management principles implemented, and is implemented more in a recursive fashion. And because of that recursiveness, because of that iterativeness and frequent interaction with customers, a lot of risk can be avoided, even though that may assume it is not present in agile world versus it is totally detailed out and documented in traditional world. Saying that, that is the end of today's session, and I just want to summarize what we learned in this particular video. We went through the risk management process. We differentiate between what is issue and what is risk. And we also went through the different process involved in risk management, starting with identification, qualification, quantification, response strategies, and also controlling the risk. We wrap up the session with the differences in definitions and differences in managing the steps where risk is involved in traditional waterfall methodology versus in agile world. Hope you enjoyed this session, and once again I just want to remind you, if you are good in risk management process, if you are thorough in risk management process and very proactive, that is one of the best skills that you can develop in becoming a successful project manager. And next to this will be the communication skill, which we'll be covering in a different video. Thank you.